Alright, Jimmy, what's on the agenda for today?
First off, you have a meeting with the professor at 11 to go comic hunting. And then after that, you got lunch. Then you're meeting up with Isra later so you can help her make her dancing videos.
Okay, anything on the reviewing side of that agenda? I already know what my plans are for Christmas.
Right. Well, you have a choice between 3 Jim Carrey movies.
Jim Carrey, huh? It's kind of bizarre that I haven't talked about that guy yet.
What? You use the Ace Ventura clips for your reviews.
No, that doesn't count. I'm talking about really talking about the guy. It's a real shock to me since I do like this guy. While there are a few movies of his that I haven't seen for specific reasons, a lot of what I have seen has been very funny, very entertaining, and even very emotional.
Well, these are your 3 choices. You got Bruce Almighty.
You really can't go wrong with Jim Carrey and Morgan Freeman in the same movie.
The Mask.
Oh, what a classic.
And the one you're going to be talking about, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
What is it about this movie that brings me back to it every year? While it's not the classic cartoon, I do find myself enjoying it time and time again, specifically with my grandfather. This was always one of his favorite movies, but for some reason there's a real split opinion on this. It's too long, the original was perfect already, why try to fix what was never broken? It still baffles me to this day, and while I do respect and appreciate those very reasons for loving or hating this movie, I'm going to discuss why I like this movie each and every year around Christmas. But wait, I like this movie. Why are you letting me get away with this?
Consider it a Christmas gift.
Aw, thanks, Jimmy.
And a calm before the storm.
Well, this is... Oh, wait. This is Ron Howard's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So the movie begins with the revelation that the world in this movie takes place on a snowflake. Interesting how a movie about a hairy green man stealing Christmas from his neighbors somehow led to the potential inside of a frickin' macroverse. And the dark realization that world on the snowflake, somehow there are probably worlds on other snowflakes, and those worlds get wiped away completely every time the sun comes out. Son of a bitch. I'm not even a minute into this movie yet, and already it's dark as hell, and I'm thinking about it too hard. Oh no, we're not doing that again. And the movie is directed by Ron Howard, who has done some other well-known and favorited movies. Case in point...
That was bad.
Unintentional, you nitwit! We also see the town of Whoville, and it looks somewhat smoggy. Okay, very smoggy. Perhaps it's filled with so much Christmas joy that you can slice through it like a cake. But we get our first look at the Who's themselves, and with the exception of Cindy Lou Who, the Who's themselves are whoifying. I mean horrifying. Since she's a kid, I guess it looks more natural with the tiny nose and whatnot, but Cindy Lou's hair is about unnecessary as the length of Super Saiyan 3. As for the adults... creepy. And you have to feel sorry for these people playing the Who's with the practical effects for their noses, because it must have been so freaking uncomfortable. In fact, who did the practical work for this movie? Rick Baker! Back in my Men in Black review, I mentioned how impressive I thought the makeup for the aliens were, and that was Rick Baker who was behind it. Additionally, he also worked on the werewolf transformations in An American Werewolf in London. Okay, I now have newfound respect for the effects in this movie, but good lord is it scary! Moving on to some teenagers with a question mark, climbing up the mountain to do a dare? I don't know, they go up the cliff to knock on the Grinch's door, but we really don't know why they're doing this, but they get scared by the Grinch anyway, because apparently there's some rumors about him which make me tilt my head. For example...
They say he lives up here in a big cave, and he only comes down when he's hungry for the taste of... Who flesh!
Okay, first of all, a zombie Grinch Christmas? Actually, I would totally watch that. But secondly, There are rumors running around the town about this guy? I mean, when we see his origin later in the movie, he just leaves after a meltdown from his psycho classmates and equally fucked up teacher. Seriously, woman. Seek help. So after being up on that mountain by himself for all those years, people have just been making up shit about him? All these years. Whoville, we're fucking scary in grade 8. I said I'm not doing that!
Look, bozo, if you're gonna be going out on a tangent, you're gonna get dinged.
But that's the whole point of a review!
Whatever. I'm gonna go get smashed drinking eggnog. Yes. That's good shit. See ya.
Back to the present. Grinch scares off the trespassers, and after all these years, that makeup still kicks ass. He looks just like the Grinch straight from the cartoon. And I'd like to give major props to Jim Carrey for this role. One thing he's known for in a lot of his movies is physical humor, and despite the obvious restraints of a costume like that, which can't be easy to work in with how much fur it has, he manages to become one with it, and uses it as an extension of his body. It allows him to become the human cartoon character he's trying to be. I'm serious. Look at some of his most famous roles and try to tell me that he's not attempting to be over-the-top cartoon Nick.
Sucking up your IQ, vacuuming the cortex, feeding off your brain. Hey, Hosea! Away!
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Yeah, there's a dog on your balls.
I can't lie! Who can?
Yeah, and while not all of those movies are perfection, he was always a highlight in them. Before age took its toll on him, he was one of the best actors we've had. Man, I feel old. After freshening up with an onion with a little bit of a prankster charm in mind, he goes off to fuck with the townsfolk. But why did they slow down this part? It's weird. It makes no sense. Get away from me. So he heads into town and does what seem to be small pranks, but some of them cause major havoc. And I'd be lying if I didn't think it was hilarious. Now, to be fair, it could be a lot worse. I mean, he hasn't committed arson or murder. Okay, he hasn't committed arson. Okay, who are we kidding? This guy's a complete monster, and somehow we relate to him around this time of year. Even when we're not supposed to. Wow. After a long-winded speech from the mayor about how bad the Grinch is, we see him go back to screwing with people in the form of mailing errors.
Jury duty, blackmail, pink slip, chain letter, eviction note.
You monster! Although, I do find it funny that his legal name is apparently the Grinch. Thanks to the mailbox for confirming that. This also gives me one of my favorite Jim Carrey lines in the movie.
The Grinch!
After tying up Cindy Lou and almost killing her, she becomes fascinated by him. Stockholm Syndrome. Also, the Grinch is Spider-Man.
Well, that worked out nicely.
Damn it, Jim Carrey! Why are you so freaking funny? I mean, it's taking me all of my effort and willpower not to show all of your funniest moments in this movie right now. I'm gonna wait until the end of the video to do that. Please don't copyright me. Merry Christmas? While I have a moment, I will acknowledge how impressive the set design is. From the town, to the mailroom, to the
Grinch's lair!
And all the other sets are very impressive. Actually, a fun fact about these sets. Apparently they were built in the lot right behind the Bates Motel from the movie Psycho. Yeah. Changed this movie for you forever, didn't it? Because it sure as hell did me. So, the Grinch goes back home and wallows in his loneliness.
Am I just eating because I'm bored?
That is too relatable. Followed by a song by Cindy Lou.
Where are you, Christmas?
Yeah, nope. Cindy gets to work investigating the Grinch's past, which involves what I mentioned before with him running off and all that nonsense with the classroom and them laughing and then everyone being a general asshole. Seek help. Get lost. And before I move on from this scene, the children. Some of their acting is actually pretty good. Especially Josh Ryan Evans as the young Grinch. This was sadly his final film role before his death in 2002 because of a heart condition, but in my eyes, he went out on a high note. His portrayal of a hopeful and eventual furious Grinch is well done. It's exactly how a kid would go about his problems after being bullied by some very awful classmates, especially young Mayor. That kid is just a jealous asshole. So well done, Josh Ryan Evans, and may God bless. Moving back to the adult Grinch, he gets a visit from Cindy Lou Who about being holiday cheermeister after she somehow convinced everyone in the town to go along with it.
Kids today, so desensitized by movies and television.
Tell me about it. Grinch reluctantly decides to go after getting the proper attire. Ugh. And a little boot out the door by Max. And after a bit of jokes and a downright enjoyable scene, the mayor goes and ruins everything by giving the Grinch a flashback to a bad memory. So, when you actually think about it, this whole incident with the Grinch, is all because of a narcissistic, jealous man-child who didn't like someone else who was getting the attention of the girl he saw first. Now, why does that sound so familiar? I could have sworn I saw another movie like that.
Now pucker up and kiss it, Whoville!
Either way, the Grinch goes on a rampage, all the while being as funny as Jim Carrey.
Taxi! It's because I'm green, isn't it?
Still somehow one of the best jokes in the movie. After a moment straight out of a Michael Bay movie, Grinch heads back and begins his plan to steal Christmas, complete with passages from the book and the cartoon, including the roast beast and all the toys for all the girls and boys. And at this particular point in time, I've got the same problem as the Grinch right now, because
I'm speaking in rhyme!
But with some cloth lying about and a light bulb in his head, he puts together a suit of both white and of red.
I look just like Saint Nick.
What the hell? Why am I speaking in rhyme once more? How much longer is this gonna go on?
Shut up and get back to the review!
Alright, sure. With a remix of the classic song that I find quite good, the Grinch heads off to rob the neighborhood. Although how he put that sled together in a short span of time, I'll never know. But at least this Grinch doesn't have to worry about the loud snow.
This is the loudest snow I've ever heard in my life!
Okay, knock it off with the rhyming. Get back to the review. And like the book, he steals and steals until he comes across Cindy Lou. The live-action segments straight from the book are all shot very well. A little smoggy, sure, but overall a good adaptation from page to screen. Or from cartoon to bigger screen. Either way. And it looks like I've stopped rhyming for the moment. So, yeah, let's hurry up this review before it comes back. The Grinch heads back to his mountaintop to destroy all that he took. But back in Whoville, they added this part to the movie without any thoughts from the book. The fact that they have to realize that Christmas isn't about the gifts does sadden me a bit, but at least they learned it at all. However, the mayor is still a major piece of shit. Wouldn't it have been different and better if the mayor was the only person who was consumed by avarice in this film? Grinch even mentioned earlier that
The avarice never ends!
So if the mayor was the only one who was consumed by this avarice throughout the entire thing, and he was, like, corrupting the townsfolk who still knew the true meaning of Christmas, that honestly might have been better. Look, I may like this movie, but the mayor's character is honestly what corrupted this whole town, whether you want to accept that theory or not. And while they see Grinch as the villain, it's really the mayor who's the bad guy. He most likely started the rumors about the Grinch, and he was the one who started the spiral in his life since that day in school. And now, he is yelling and putting down a little girl.
You choose
to listen to a little not to be taken seriously girl.
A little girl who just wanted to celebrate the true meaning of Christmas with their friends and family. The mayor is a major asshole. He is greedy, narcissistic, jealous as hell, and he is completely consumed by avarice. Oh boy.
That's right. It's me, pure avarice.
You again? Right now? I'm in the middle of a video.
What better time than the present?
Well, maybe after the video? Or before it began? Before the review, so they could actually skip past it? Or how about never at all?
Oh, well, that doesn't matter. I'm still gonna ruin Christmas. Oh, Mother of Mercy.
Huh?
Jackass.
Jimmy? You shot him?
Oh, yeah. Motherfucker owed me money.
Well, I can't argue with that. He is a major asshole. Could you take care of the body while I finish the review?
Yeah, sure. Here. Come on, fat ass!
Okay. Sorry about that. Now where was I? Oh yeah. The mayor's a horrible person. Moving on. The town realizes the true meaning of Christmas and it touches the Grinch's heart. Unfortunately, it feels more like a chest burster to him. Okay, this I don't really appreciate. It should be a nice and heartwarming moment for him. It's like his heart has been ice cold for years, and only now is it starting to pump full of happiness and joy again. It shouldn't feel like something is trying to rip him apart from the inside out. Yeah, boo-hoo, wrap it up, Grinchy. He saves Cindy Lou, who followed him here, and goes back to town, where he makes amends, gets himself a girlfriend, and fingers crossed the townsfolk run the mayor out of town. All before they sit down for a Christmas feast.
Who wants the gizzard? I do. Too late. That'll be mine.
And that was Ron Howard's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, there are a few parts around the middle and towards the end that I do find a bit awkward and unnecessary, but despite all that, I still really enjoy this movie, and I highly recommend it to anyone who is feeling the holiday spirit. It's different, yes. The Grinch is a lot more active and humorous thanks to Jim Carrey's awesome performance, and the sets are a bit over the top, which, considering the source material, is appropriate. And the stuff from the book is here. You just won't get it until a little later, with more stuff from the Grinch, the town, and of course, Anthony Hopkins' majestic narrations. I do recommend the movie, but even if you don't like the movie, that's no reason to hate on people who do. It's a different type of Grinch story, and while I enjoy it, I am fully aware that others don't. And you should too. You can always go back to the classic Grinch cartoon, or even the book, which are both just as good, and some can say better than the movie. Even with the newest Grinch movie, it had its own advantages and disadvantages towards other versions, like the Grinch having a bit more humility towards his dog in the style of Whoville, but someone will obviously have something to dislike about it. One point that I do find to be a source of, well, a sort of conflict from other people towards this new Grinch movie is that we do relate to the Grinch a lot more. Which, even if you look at it, like, from the Jim Carrey and the cartoon, the older you get, the more you relate to the guy, period. I'll give you guys more details about my thoughts on the 2018 Grinch movie in another video, but my point is that everyone has their own favorite Grinch, and to be honest, this one is mine. Let's see, is there anything else worth mentioning? Nah, I'll just go over it again. Jim Carrey is hilarious as always. The Who's are terrifying as always. The message of the original still gets through our hearts as always. And the overall enjoyment, flaws included, makes it a worthwhile film. Now, if you disagree with me, feel free to disagree. Just say it in a nice way in the comments below. 'Tis the season, after all. And speaking of that, it's been a good 3 years since we've started this channel, and to be quite honest, I regret all of it. No, kidding, of course. But the rough patches, the fails, the improvements, the comments, likes and dislikes, and of course, all of our subscribers allow this channel to grow, albeit so slowly. But we've never really gotten a chance to say it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you, everybody, for an awesome year.
Thanks, I guess.
And with all that said, from us here at Entertainment Online, we'd like to wish you all Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Wait, what do you mean I'm not allowed to say that?
Merry Christmas and an even better New Year.
And to all, a good review.
Max, pick out a bow! Can I use your finger for a second? One man's toxic sludge is another man's potpourri. I don't know, it's some kind of soup.
Hate, 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 hate. Double hate.
Loathe entirely. Kids today, so desensitized by movies and television.
But what would I wear? It's not a dress, it's a kilt! Sicko! Taxi! It's because I'm green, isn't it? Oh no. I'm speaking in rhyme! Aren't you gonna cuff me? Put me in a chokehold? Blind me with pepper spray?
What are you still doing here, you perverts?